So we're here with award-winning director, writer, and producer, Ron Scott. Ron, glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell me a little about yourself and where you come from.
I'm a Métis, so I'm part Plains Cree Indian. My family's from Fort Chip, Alberta, and I grew up in Alberta. You know, always interested in movies and TV, and it was something that I was always interested in. And through the years, I wanted to be an actor, so I took acting classes and moved out to Vancouver and worked on 21 Jump Street and Booker and Wise Guy and like all those shows that were back then, and realized that I didn't like being on that side of the camera. So I decided that I was going to go to film school and just fell in love with the ability to really kind of break down story and to move people through the visual medium. It just grew, and I just, you know, we've done everything from, like I said, music videos, feature film, lifestyle shows, and then moved into scripted, and Blackstone is my 4th scripted show I've been involved in.
It's an emergency.
Something is definitely wrong here.
Where's Libby? I need you to do something for me.
What was I supposed to do?
You're getting in the way.
I will not let you destroy him.
You lied to me!
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm gonna burn for this.
How do you keep it fresh? I mean, what kind of challenges do you run into having to write so many episodes?
Well, I started pulling stuff from my past. I was like, oh, my uncle did this, and yeah, I heard about this, and you know, I knew this person, and it was incredible how it's something that, you know, for me, just started to come. And I work with a team, and obviously there's always collaboration, but I pull stuff from, you know, the news, from my past, from friends, from, you know, we do a lot of research, and you form it into what I like to call a commentary, and really kind of speak into certain issues and wrap it around a dramatic story world.
Greg, this is a problem. Situations like this can blow themselves out of proportion very fast, and the last thing I need is a bunch of news trucks parked out on the road.
Andy, somebody's been murdered here.
Peterson, you got something. Take a look.
What do you got here?
We don't know what it is.
How has the visual art evolved as the seasons have gone on?
Well, it's interesting because the way that we've kind of progressed, season 1 was, a lot of people just said it's in your face and it's dealing with a lot of negative issues. And, you know, I can accept criticism, I can accept feedback, but there was a lot of hope in season 1, and a lot of the more hopeful kind of storylines, they just take longer. Just like in life, like, it's easy to get in a car crash. You know, it just happens like this. But for someone to pull themselves out of addiction, it doesn't happen in one episode. Not on Blackstone it doesn't, because in real life it doesn't.
Whatever piece you're looking for is not at the bottom of that bottle. I know. I looked many, many times.
I'm gonna help you. Just be my sister.
So you have the process of one of our characters, you know, fighting her demons, facing her challenges, and it took, you know, a whole season for her to kind of come around.
What type of reaction do you get from people, the native community, the people in the outside world?
It's interesting because for the most part, people absolutely love Blackstone. We have a Facebook page, and you know, they're pretty rabid fans for the most part. And some people don't like it, and just like some people won't like other TV shows.
Sure.
You know, I don't like certain shows, but
Sure.
There's a taste out there. I think for the people who are invested in Blackstone, they'll find that they take something out of every episode, and there is a larger kind of overview of hope and change within a community. I've heard from various chiefs that I actually know say that they love the show because it challenges those kind of fundamental core issues of Native politics that no other show has really done before. We've heard everything from counselors up north from their community saying that their community is actually, bylaws have changed because Blackstone started to get people talking within the community. It's really humbling, actually, and I think that as a content creator, I'm very proud of stimulating those kind of conversations.
It's very inspiring to see all these big names of Indian country on screen working with these young, fresh, new faces that are up and coming. That must be satisfying for you.
Oh, it's incredible. We cast some actors who weren't actors, and they just learned on the fly. And so I would be kind of doing a crash course acting class on set, especially in season 1. It was their first break, you know, and they really learned and they really grabbed on to the craft, and hopefully they're still going.
Gordon Tatusis, wonderful person, really one of the pioneers that helped pave the way for Indigenous people in film. With his passing last year, you had to obviously rewrite some of the episodes. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I've worked with Gordon on a show, I think it was about 10 years ago, and I just remember his just professionalism and his spirit of collaboration and willingness to give. It was just a real pleasure for me. And to see him interact with the other actors and him kind of bring along the younger ones and just be someone who was there and giving and extremely talented. I'll never forget the day that we got the phone call, and it was 2 weeks before the production of season 2, so we had to rejig a lot in season 2, but you know, I know that he's left his mark in the world, cinematically and on TV, and he's greatly missed, I know, by a lot of people.
Getting set to start your 3rd season of Blackstone must be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a different season. We've traditionally always shot in the summer, but we're going to shoot in the spring. One of the kind of textures to Blackstone is the environment, is the reserve, right? We usually have these lush, green, you know, beautiful plains with trees, and you know, there's still wheat on the fields, and you have this rich texture that's going to change, and it's going to be stark. You know, it's just a different kind of feeling when you go there. You might be able to see breath, we might get snow, you know. So other than that, we've got a whole bunch of great new characters coming in. We got some really great storylines that are fresh but familiar, and I think a lot of people can relate to. We're going after domestic violence. It's really interesting how many Aboriginal people have been over the years falsely accused and end up in jails. And then there's also this new part of the Criminal Code of Canada that they've introduced, that they'll actually take into consideration Native people's background and how they grew up into sentencing. So we're going to touch on that, and is it a good thing, is it a bad thing, what is it? And I think part of Blackstone is that we always present kind of 2 sides to the story, and then let people decide, you know, like where do they land with that. But I think Blackstone is kind of just not pioneered, but kind of is a progression, I like to call it, in the next kind of big Aboriginal show that's going to come out. So, you know, we're there, we're moving forward, and it's something that's, you know, really great to do.
An Aboriginal film, TV. How do you see the status of that in North America, and where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, I think it's really growing. I think, you know, I've been down to the American Indian Film Festival a few times, and it's encouraging to see, you know, talent within the communities in the U.S. and you know, in Canada, like Imaginative, and there's all kinds of, you know, like Dream Speakers here in Edmonton. When you watch these projects and you just go, you know, the level is getting better and better every year, and the level of talent in every different area, from directing to writing and on-screen talent. And it's really encouraging, because I think that, you know, we're moving forward as a community, and it's exciting to see the next kind of big thing. What I'm looking forward to, and I know that Michelle Thrush has said to this, and Carmen Moore, you know, it would be nice to see a Native person just playing a person instead of, you know, personified from, you know. And I think that that's going to come. I think one of the things, you know, a show like Blackstone, where we can kind of show, you know, how much talent the community has. I mean, Michelle Thrush and Carmen Moore were both nominated for Best Actress at the Geminis, which is the equivalent to the American Emmys. And they're both Aboriginal women, and that's never happened before in that category, and then Michelle won.
Wow.
You know, that kind of thing is very powerful, and it's very encouraging, and I think that it's not going to happen overnight, and I think that it's going to require a lot of work, and that you can see that it's moving forward.
What's a day in the life of Ron Scott? Aside from film.
Well, it depends. I have 3 children, so there's a family life, and you know, Edmonton's not a real vibrant TV community, and so. But that's the reason that I stayed here and I came from Vancouver, is that my family's here. So my family's very important to me. And you know, days hold different things depending on if we're in production or if we're in writing or if we're in development phase. It's a gift, as I call it, to be able to have the opportunity to write and reflect and to comment and to do all those things that a writer or creator does. And then having the ability to execute it on set with talent. And then, you know, in post, you get to edit it and refine it and craft it. And, you know, so there's always those different phases of production that you're doing something different, and which is great. And it's one of the things I love about this business, is you're not always doing the same thing.
Well, it's been great to have you on the show, and congratulations on all your success.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
For your time.
Thanks, my pleasure.
Ron Scott.
Thank you. And it's like you want to take it away from her more than anything. She doesn't need another drink.
Yeah, sure, give me a drink.
So we're here with Michelle Thrush, award-winning actress. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my family comes from Saskatchewan, little southeast or southwest corner of Saskatchewan, a little place called Maple Creek. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, and I've been working in film and television and theater professionally for almost 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time.
So how did you get a start in that?
I began when I was pretty young, and I loved doing drama. And so I was the one, I went to an all-native school, and I was the one that was always trying to get plays together and stuff, so I'd get all my friends pumped up, and I'd get a script, and I'd have auditions and you know, create sets and stuff, and then I'd be ready for the rehearsals, and no one would show up. It was like they didn't have the same enthusiasm. But one day a producer and a director came looking for an actress in our school, and our principal said the only person in our school that really enjoys acting is Michelle Thrush. So they auditioned me in the classroom, and I got the role, and I got flown here to Edmonton and did my first film here in Edmonton. It was called Isaac Littlefeathers. And the interesting thing was that the director, Les Rose, told me at the time, he says, I'm going to give you this role because I think you did a good job, but you have to promise me that you will never get into acting because it's a horrifying business. It will eat you up and spit you out, and you just have to make that promise to me that you'll never want to be an actress. I'm like, are you insane? I'm never going to get into acting. I said, I love doing it, but I'm going to be a social worker, and I'm going to change the world, and I'm going to go to university, and I just had all these dreams. And then I did this film, and I really enjoyed it, and I got this really big check, which I took to Stampede Grounds and bought all my friends rides, and I was like, I was it, right? And then, you know, another year went by, and I had another audition, and I did another film for the National Film Board. And then I decided that's when I realized that the impact that acting can have on our people was really strong, and that I would be able to change the world through acting. You know, be able to create change, basically, is what I was wanting to do. And I thought, if I got into social work, the red tape that you have to go through to create change was so evident to me. So I changed my whole career path, and at 17 or 18, and that's when I decided to be an actor. And I met a wonderful man by the name of Gordon Tatusis, who we lost last year. Just a handful of brown faces were on television at the time. Him and Graham Greene, Tantu, Gary Farmer, Chief Dan George, like there was just only a few people. So for me to meet Gordon at such a young time in my life was this gift, because he nurtured me, and he said, you know, if you want to be an actor, then go forward. And he it was like divine intervention to have Gordon come into my life at my age, because it made me realize what my priorities were. I've never done anything else since.
What other types of challenges did you run into as a Native woman trying to succeed in the business at such a young age?
There were a lot of challenges, and I still face challenges. I find that there's a lot of scripts that are written with a lot of male leads. Often our history is being seen through men's eyes. I remember a few years ago I did a film, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and Augie was playing Sitting Bull, the main character, and I was playing his wife. And the role was basically offered to me, and then I got the script. I'm like, this woman has no lines. And that's the first time in my career I've ever played a character that doesn't have lines. And I said to the director, I was like, what is up with that? Because our women had such a huge part of our history and about, what men did. Women always had a say in the decisions and stuff. But, it seems that a lot of times when our scripts are brought in through that Hollywood romanticism, they really like to glorify the male participation in our history.
Blackstone, I see a lot of women that have big roles in there. Tell me a little bit about that show.
Blackstone has broken down a lot of stereotypes, and it, for Carmen and myself, who star in that show, to have two women in it, in lead roles, is something that's a real gift. And to be able to be given the character of Gail Stoney on that show it's just amazing. I wanted to create her, Gail, in a way that was my aunties and my family, women that I knew from community, and not stereotypical. Because when you're playing somebody who's an alcoholic, it's a very fine line. Like, you can overdo it, you can underdo it. It's a really difficult thing, right? And I just knew that I wanted to portray her as honestly as I could, to be a woman that people recognized. And I've never been an alcoholic in my life, so it was just from watching people in my family.
Here I go. I love you. Mom. Mom. Mom, look at me. I'm proud of you. Mom, I love you. I love you.
That must take a lot of energy to play a role like that. How is that role different from other roles you've portrayed on film?
It was the darkest journey I've been on as an actor. I worked with Prairie Dog on another TV series for a few seasons called Mixed Blessings, which is a comedy. And that character on that show, she was like, all pretty and fluffy with the long eyelashes and the high heels, and she walked like that, and she was a comedy character. So to go from that into shooting Blackstone, which was the complete polar opposite in characters, and it was a really difficult journey. I know after certain scenes I would go back to my little trailer thing, and I'd cry, because I know so many women who can be called Gail, and including my mom, who has been through a lot in her life. When we started off in Blackstone, we never thought that we would be where we are today, and the amount of awards we've received for that show, it's opened up a lot of eyes as well as doors.
Speaking of awards, you were a recipient of the Gemini Award. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What's that like, to be recognized for all your hard work? I mean, you've been in this business a long time, and that's a big award.
It was pretty unbelievable. I wasn't expecting to win, to be honest with you. I thought, it was our very first season on the show. It was my first nomination for a Gemini. So I went there really just honestly believing that it would be a good experience and, I'd meet all these people and stuff. I didn't even have a speech written. It was just like so unbelievable to me that I would receive that award. So when I heard my name being called, it was almost like so surreal, like time stopped. And it was unfathomable. Like there's nothing to describe that feeling. It was like, wow. And it took a long time for me to just wrap my head around it. Like most of the night I was still sitting there going, oh my God, I can't believe I got this. It was just trippy.
Wow. What's it like growing up in Calgary?
Well, growing up in Treaty 7 area, which is the south part of Alberta, I grew up with a lot of my friends being Blackfoot, and being a Cree, there's this whole historical fight between the two. My mom would always be like, don't you ever marry a Blackfoot. I'll disown you if you marry a Blackfoot. And I'm sure, Blackfoots were like, don't you ever marry a Cree. So, there was that to deal with, but Treaty 7 has got this really incredibly unique humor that pertains to the Blackfoot culture, and so it was awesome to grow up in that, because I do a lot of comedy, and I think that's where it came from, was just growing up around a whack of funny Indians. But on the other side, there was this a lot of racial tension in that part of the country. When I was growing up in the city, I was usually the only little brown girl in the classroom. So I can remember in the early part of my career feeling really intimidated and very inferior around white people. And I remember, going on to certain sets, and I would look around and I'd be like, wow, I wonder what they think of me. And I felt like I always had to represent, and I always had to be my best, to represent my people and be better than, and it took me a long time to get over that.
But, you've been on screen with some big names like, Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro. What's that like?
At first, when I first meet them, I get really nervous. I do. I get really shy. When I first met Johnny, I was so shy, and then we ended up becoming really good friends. And then I realized, oh my God, he's just another human being. And we hung out together after we shot the film, and it's all good. And same with Benicio. When I met him, he walked into the makeup trailer, and I was like, oh my God, it's him. Oh my God. Oh God, and then, he went and sat in his chair, and he's way at that end, and I'm at this end, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't even have my makeup on. I don't even want to see him yet. And, he's like, is that the girl playing my sister? And his makeup lady goes, yeah, that's her. And he got up and he came over and he's like, oh, hey. And I was like, hi. And then it was so funny because we got onto set and I was just like, here we are, supposed to be playing brother and sister, who I basically raised him. My character raised him. And he was very motherly with him, and I couldn't even look at him. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get through this scene because I can't look at him, and I'm so nervous. He's got, this charisma and this presence. So we blocked, and I couldn't get my lines out, and I couldn't speak right. And then I said to, they cut the blocking, and then Benicio goes, let's go have a cigarette. So we walk off set, and he lights up a smoke, and he's like, are you okay? Do you need to run lines with me? And I looked at him and go, Benicio, honest to God, I'm just super nervous to meet you because I just look up to you so much, and I'm just so nervous inside, and I need to get past that. And he's like, okay, I'm just a human being, man. I'm nobody special. I'm just another human being who wants to act. I'm like, okay. And I said, well, the thing is, do you mind if I hug you? And he's like, sure. We have to hug in this scene later, so this is how I thought I would hug you. And he, nuzzles into my neck, and I'm like stroking his head and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'd probably do this, right? In that scene, he's like, yeah. And then I realized that just by breaking down, just by hugging him, we broke down that huge physical, everyone's got their bubble, and I needed to break the bubble, right? So just hugging him broke the bubble, and then I went, okay, let's go do this. And then from that moment on, we had no more than 3 takes in every scene we did together. And,
nice.
And it was awesome. Like, we connected. We were like total brother and sister after that. So it worked out really good.
Well, I look forward to seeing that film.
Yeah, me too.
The next season of Blackstone. It's been great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate your time. And I'm a big fan of your work. So
Oh, thank you.
thank you. Michelle Thrush.
I'm here with Daryl Dennis, actor, comedian, playwright, and radio personality.
I was getting really annoyed because I was actually an actor and I was able to speak in complete sentences.
I am here with Day and Night.
You know I've been